Hello, wonderful ELA team. Today I'm going to get you started on thinking your way through today's module experience and just kind of real briefly lead the way and welcome you to learning a little bit about EOC and MAP preparation. We're in a good situation for ELA because they probably have not had adequate time to do a lot of rewriting and a lot of new items. So the best data we have to really look ahead with is from the 18-19 school year. And I'm going to be able to share some of that information with you on this goal. Otherwise, we are going to use the full test as we test and prepare this year. There have been some talks of a shorter exam in some of the subjects. In ELA, we're going to experience, again, a full session 1 and a full session 2. Remember, the 8th grade writes every year, and so do 9th and 10th grade. We will not be assessing 9th grade students this year. Formally, it's an option every year, but we do assess 10th graders every year. So it's important to maybe feature some of those tasks in the 9th grade that are not as high stakes as they will be when we get to the 10th grade as great ways to get ready. So 9th and 10th grade standards are the same and often very much just a matter of digging in deeper from one year to the next until we get to that level that we're really after by the final parts of 10th grade. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I appreciate you showing up for this PD. Okay, first thing I'll point out is the document you are probably working from, and that I am going to say includes all of this, some information about the sessions, the length, the blueprints that Desi shares with us and gives us some sense of what's going to be covered on these exams, the performance level descriptors that for 7th and 8th grade have been updated a little bit more recently than the English 1, English 2, 9th and 10th grade tests, but there's still valuable ways to dig in and look and see what is expected as students grow. There are some writing rubrics. Again, remember 8th grade will perform the writing portion, and so will 10th grade. Okay, there are question stems, and there are some resources for planning. So I'm simply going to jump you into that document that you're looking at and kind of just show you a quick panorama, set you forward on a task. In fact, before we do that, let's preset by looking at what we're going to do once we're in that one pager. Okay, so you'll see in the box below, we're asking you to make your own Google Doc and share this with your team, perhaps your PLC, have that conversation, and then maybe go ahead and turn it into building leadership. So is down here. This is not my group. Okay, so if you look at down below that document where you see these links, I'm going to show you up above where the ELA ones are instead. These are for science. But here are the two questions. After reviewing the materials available in the one pager, please indicate what materials and strategies you plan to put in place to help incorporate test preparation in your classroom to parallel the existing learning. We do want to stress that it's not a chance to just turn off from the current path and the curricular goals and simply put up efforts to start only test prep. But we want to build this in, perhaps in some creative ways that you come up with some groups, with some do-nows. That's definitely going to be a better result than just shutting everything else down. Okay, and the second question, I want you to reflect, and having read one or more of the documents in the one-pager, how is your impression of the task students must complete either confirmed or shifted? And how will you plan to support this challenge in some specific ways? Okay, so now we know those two questions. I'm going to set you off into this document, simply going to show it to you a little bit like a tour guide. I'm going to also point out that I pulled a great deal of this information directly from the Desi, Missouri website that is often really fairly challenging to navigate. So I hope having it all on this one page is going to prove helpful. Okay, so this is the one pager. I would tell you I've worked to make sure everything here is current and updated, but if you find something that's not, please let me know. So on the top of the document, we have everything related to MAP, 7th and 8th grade students, and I've also snuck in a little bit of the 6th grade material here at the top as well. The session times will give you a sense of how long students test in each category, and that might be, an eye-opener if we have not thought about the length of time that they will be spending sitting in these sessions, the rubrics that they will be used to evaluate their writing, the writing prompt itself, the sources that they are expected to read from, and then produce that writing. So all that's up here in the top. On the far right, you'll also see some writing samples of student work that has already been provided by DESE that fits certain categories and would be good exemplar work to feature in discussion or with students. But I'm going to let you decide that as you make your choices about how to use some of this material. Okay, looking down here just a little bit below, you'll see that there's some online tools training. This is about getting familiar with how to use the specific tools you do when you're on the computer taking the test. There's a generic writer's checklist that we could really try to make sure as teachers that we have not omitted some of these concepts. And then Achieve the Core as a good generic example for a lot of things. It has a lot of good student writing samples in there as well if you needed more. Okay, in this blue portion, similar material, but for our 9th and 10th grade students, you'll see that we have the blueprints, we have the sources, we have the writing prompts, we have the practice forms, we have the tools training, we have the video that tells you about how to use various parts. We have also the performance level descriptors. What we do have in this that we don't have as much of in the earlier grades is a little bit over here on the right called Blended Writing Resource Set. And if you explore that a little bit, I think you'll find it interesting to see that there are 2 ways to do this. These are student models that have already been scored to show how well they meet certain parameters based on the rubric in terms of blending their writing. And then these down below are blank and are a chance for you to maybe pass those out as they are blank and talk about how students would group or score where they see these. And there's directions, an introduction, and then the writing prompt all included in that little passage. Okay, just wrapping up, the very bottom are some things I've pulled from our currently adopted district resource. StudySync has a lot of test preparation material. It is inside mainly the online way to do so, but each one of these booklets is something you could look through and see if anything in there would help specifically tune to some needs that you're facing as you prepare for testing. The strategies glossary is really great and has specific ways to practice specific skills. Further down, these are directly from DESE. These are standard level examples that show kind of on grade level what the expectation would be, what we're really trying to practice when we're thinking of specific standards. There's a vertical progression. Right here is the data from our school district, the 18-19 MAP item summary. And this is the most specific we have been in a while about exactly which standards would be measured and during a full year of uninterrupted instruction, how our students fared. So if you use this that I'm circling to help draw some pretty good decisions about what to focus on, I would probably suggest that. Okay, same here with the EOC item summary. That is data compiled by our assessment team that year that I have hung on to and now included, so you can look back on and make sure you know that those were the actual items that were evaluated that year. Also, the MOLEAP materials are fairly new in the last 2 years from DESE and really powerful materials and great kind of really responsive, even culturally responsive material that you might find is very interesting. And it's all sorted by grade level as kind of test preparation or was really designed for while we were in more virtual learning. So really just nose through some of these other materials and think about how you might be able to utilize some as you are making your own PD today. I am done explaining this document to death, but I hope that's given you some panorama of all that is possibly there. Please don't think I would ever expect you to tackle all of these things. But again, if you're in the 7th and 8th grade section, this is your chunk at the top. Might explore for a while, make your choice, and then start answering some of the questions. Thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful for you. Have a great day.